Now go to participant.
It was on beautiful. And all the other kids that either
there's the hills.
you've got more kids than that.
I'm sorry, but devil's advocate here.
Okay, so thanks everybody for coming in. We appreciate your patience with our technical difficulties. And I think we should go ahead and start with the meeting.
I'll jump right into it. So the first item is a Mcdonald site plan. This is located at 650 East, 800 South in the Costco lot. It's by Big O Tires. There's a location. It's in the PD 34 zone. There's the existing plat. There's a proposed site plan. They will be redoing the median as part of the site plan. There's a proposed drive-through, so they'll turn in right and go around the next side of the building. There's a proposed floor plan, and fun fact, they told us this is the smallest model of McDonald's building they have.
I was gonna ask like how that compares to the 8th North one.
No, well, they still haven't opened the lobby, most of McDonald's. So now I think they're moving all to drive-through and where eats and all that.
That would make sense.
And just to be clear, is there access off of 800 South, or do they have to access off the Costco parking lot?
And they have access off 650 East, so they turn right from 800 South and then right on,
Okay.
sorry. you-
So if I remember,
Put it on mute. Fine.
if I remember correctly, the access comes into that entrance that's central to the Costco parking.
Right.
East of Big Old Tire. And then the median that's there currently is where they would proceed south on, and then you turn right on this drive around the building. Is that not correct?
That's correct. Yeah, so you can see on the aerial
Yeah.
photo that the car wash is to the east.
Right, the east of that.
Uh-huh.
But, so the median would have to be changed some to allow the right turn. That would be a tight turn to enter that part of that backup area for the drive up. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so right there, the turn into the drive-through,
Yes.
it is a tight turn, but they did show us that it's possible in all sizes of cars.
There was a slide that showed that in our packet anyway, that showed the radius of like a smaller car and like an F-250 or something, trying to make it.
Yeah.
But it is tight.
It is tight.
Yes.
They're redoing that road.
You wanna come back
And
with
let's
slide?
see, do you have the full site plan in there?
Yeah.
That one right there, can you, do you have the ability to zoom in? Maybe Sam can point out those improvements that they're doing.
Yeah, so what they're doing right now is, to your guys' point, there is an existing access, but it's only 20 feet wide, so they're getting, the median that's being modified is this median, it's gonna be, they're gonna widen this a little bit to the west, so they actually have a right out and a left out, because right now, 2 small cars can do that, but 2 large cars couldn't. So they're gonna widen that, so you have the left out, the right out, and then down in here is where that turning template that we had them do show where they can turn and make this turn right here to go up and around the house.
So there are 2 avenues of access. One is that turn, that a car headed to the north from Costco,
Can just come in and go right in.
right?
So
So
this
those
is
cars would
that
have to,
main driveway there.
they would have to blend in together
Yeah,
to
it's-
enter that. Would that be a
it's not-
cause of concern as one car's waiting for the other one to?
You know, it would be if it was higher speeds, but we're typically you're 5-10 miles an hour, pretty
I
low
don't mean the
speeds.
speed so much as the congestion. You see,
Congestion's gonna be a problem too, but from our standpoint, it's not impacting mainline for the city. This is kind of like, hey, if your house is a mess, that's your business, but if your mess comes into the street, then it's my business. So you guys wanna have this mess here, you guys are gonna have to live with it. And part of it is just because they didn't line up all these roads all the way across, it's all
Right.
offset. So, and the mall's all aware of it, they've
yeah,
built it.
it's probably not bad those aren't lined up because of the speed that
Right.
you have to stop them.
Right, and that's why they want to stripe it, so there's no block.
Yeah, I was gonna
Parking
ask about
south,
parking for
parking
the
south.
employee, right along the
Some
side.
parking here, along here, they have
Oh.
some right there, and then there's
Along the
also
side.
this piece of. I guess the next slide might show it maybe,
Yeah, we
Yeah, I'll
have
second.
more, we have a parking slide.
but Costco
Yeah,
doesn't
2
go
parking
clear
slides.
up,
I was surprised,
Costco doesn't go all the way up, there's actually a gap right there,
right,
that's the mall property, and that's where they have that reciprocal agreement that's,
so the mall actually owns that property.
yeah.
They
They
actually
actually own
Costco
this
as
one
well.
too,
They own
they
Costco, yeah.
own all these little weird
Yeah, I figured
lots
that.
in there.
Is Costco happy with this?
So I reached out to Woodbury to ask them that question, and Costco has signed off on all of these improvements to these entrances.
Yeah.
So they're aware of what's going in. They don't have official sign off on like McDonald's per se, but they're aware that those are retail paths that can be developed out. That's what the answer was. I received.
This is not a drive-up only location.
Right, it's gonna be a small amount of
Yeah,
walk-in.
people can go inside of it. And you said there's parking on the east side of the proposed McDonald's building,
Yeah.
So here's the
So
parking.
those stalls right there.
so the people ingress and egress for that, will that conflict with the,
They actually showed when they did this turning template, you can see that car right there. And it's
Yeah.
all coming up the backside of where those cars would be. Obviously, if there's a car backing, they're gonna have to stop and wait, just like you would.
again, that's not our problem, that's theirs.
Right. We try and that's why we ask for these things, because it brings it to their attention.
Yeah,
McDonald's is very thorough. Because we didn't have to ask about the radius around, they already know what works for them because they want to sell a burger and a drink. So they don't want it to be too tight.
Yeah.
because they know there's gonna be plenty of Suburbans and big cars in there. So they wanna capture all those people trying to leave Costco that didn't get a hot dog.
Sure. Makes it easier for me to.
You have options now.
Harder to park. I thought I could park anywhere out in that northwest area, but
Well, you can,
Still
but Costco lease technically doesn't include those stalls.
Yeah.
So that's what.
Can you look at the outside parking slide?
Yes, so here's the shared parking plan. In between the red lines is what Costco officially has, so that shows that Costco has the required parking for them.
Okay.
And then everything outside of it is kind of extra that can be shared by all the other.
you mean what's
businesses.
north of that?
So
The
the
north and
Costco,
south.
the Costco parking spots are not calculated in the collective parking spots that they count every time they try to build a property. And they say we have enough parking somewhere else, so we could have less parking here. So are they counting those spots for the mall, or that's specifically Costco only?
So the way those parking stalls show exactly what is required for Costco, but somebody who wants to go to McDonald's can park in that spot and walk over to McDonald's. They are allowed to do that.
Those, to answer your question, Hazen, those stalls are in the overall parking tabulation.
Okay,
Costco has existing 749 stalls and they're required to have 619.
okay, so this is pretty much is what makes it code approved.
Correct.
That's
Yeah.
all what that is. That's not specifically Costco, because a lot of people that live in those apartments do park at the end of that side.
Correct. Yeah, the entire PD 34 is treated as one overall parking standard for the whole development.
And the city is 100% okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
we are.
Okay,
So in fact, the overall parking number, if I can share that with you off their tabulation is, I'm just scrolling down to it. Let's see, they have 8,093 stalls on site with 6,539 are required. So as they build their future phases that are going to go in around that internal area, they have 2 or 3 parking garages planned.
Okay, that's
So
great.
mass surface parking is taken up.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, you know where those are located, just out of curiosity, like where those parking structures will be?
Yeah, roughly, they're going through I don't know if you have a better aerial of the whole malls in there.
I
but
don't have one of the whole malls.
They're more central over by the park. So next to Al Sporting Goods, kind of in that area,
Good place.
in that general area.
yeah, when we approved the hotel, they also took 70 parking spots from where Al is, the north,
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah, they're
northeast side.
shared now locked together, but that's where, in fact, that exact location, I think is where one of the garages is under concept. At least their last concept.
On the concept, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't with the hotel. Okay, I guess like you said, if their house is messy, that's their house.
But I think Costco parking lots are bigger than the average parking stall. Wide.
Yeah, I think you're right, because of the bigger carts, right, so you can get between cars without
So
killing,
these,
taking off mirrors.
most of the time.
Yeah, I think one thing to share is, that I found in my experience working with landlords is they always want to make sure they don't jeopardize their tenants. And they want to make sure their tenants don't leave. So they always have a fine balance on parking and they want to make sure they're not going to impact Costco. And I flat out had this conversation with Woodbury. I said, how's Costco feeling? How are they looking? And they said, Costco, they shared stuff with me I'm not allowed to share. They're shared with me in confidence, but Costco's just doing just fine. They're very happy with where they're at.
Are they still having a plan to move in the gas station?
Yes, they are still evaluating that. Correct. They do have an approved plan, but they're evaluating if they're going to pivot from that to a different spot.
Okay. We literally started going to Costco on Sundays because I hated it the other day. I can't even park, I hate parking there. So it's just Sunday only activity. No matter what, it's Saturday. No
Get
way.
there early.
You better get early, 7 o'clock, so there's
I
no.
go on my time. Their
They
time.
don't open early enough though. That's like 9.
Yeah, but and that's
Go to the Salt Lake one.
the thing though, I think.
Oh, we shop in Orem,
Yes.
man, not Salt Lake.
Salt Lake, no, Salt Lake one opens at 7 early on Saturdays.
Oh, wow.
You said it's the biggest
Yeah, I think
Costco.
that's.
You need to
To walk down.
I know.
We should get back to Because we have a lot more
Oh, yeah.
items.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions on the parking? Okay,
Go.
here's the street view, so it's vacant right now. And staff recommends that you approve the site plan. Any other questions for McDonald's? Okay. Second item is for Milagros Edition. It's a plat amendment located at 966 West, 800 North. It's in the PD 22 zone and it's by Winco. Here's the existing plat. And so Milagros is wanting to add an addition to their store to expand their kitchen and add a drive-through that goes into the common area on the existing plat, so they had to do a plat amendment. So here's the proposed plat, and you can see down on the south of the building, the private area was expanded a little bit. And here's the proposed site plan. There's the proposed floor plan showing that they expanded the kitchen and will have a drive-through window. They will also have an attic for some storage. Here's what those elevations look like. It'll match the exterior of the building. So the landscaping isn't changing at all. It still meets all the requirements of that zone. Here's a street view. And staff recommends approval. Oh, one thing, the owner of the other parcels in that building did agree to this. He will sign the file.
Who are the other owners?
His name is Bill Fairbanks.
No, like what businesses do they?
Or the construction.
Okay.
He's the original developer of Northgate. They retain ownership of that building. How they understand. Or units in that company.
So all the owners in that will sign the file.
Okay.
Cool. Any other questions?
No.
Okay, the third item is Matthews rezone. So it's located at 258 North, 800 East. And the applicant wants to rezone it from R8 to R6.5, and it's just the west portion of the lot. And they want the east portion to remain R8. So that's what the proposed zoning map looks like. This would allow them to.
Can you go back? They,
Oh.
they talked about a cul-de-sac that they wanted to, does that change it?
Complete.
That has nothing to do with this. This is a rezone. for
Yeah,
the
so-
west part only. Has nothing to
so-
do with that.
Okay.
Tonight, we're just talking about the rezone, and if they get their rezone, they will have to come through with a preliminary plat and final plat application as well. And that would include the east and the west side of the property. So here's what the concept plan looks like.
Oh, I still have a couple of questions. Can you go back to that
Oh,
plan?
yeah,
I don't want us to skim through this just because this is only 6.5, right? Trying to rezone one side and not the other side. If we approve this, they'll have two lots, correct?
yes,
6.5 and the R6 and R8. By definition, the R8, when we start building on it, we have to adhere to city standards when it comes to roads and sidewalks and gutters, curb and gutter, right?
right.
Which means they would have zero chance of building on that lot if the request comes in and they keep it a cul-de-sac, because otherwise there would not be any access to the house for the R8 side.
I think there's enough room there that they are able to still do two R8 lots, no matter what the street configuration ends up.
There will be enough room for them to have a sidewalk without continuing
I believe
the
so.
road.
Because we reached out to Mr. Matthews and said, are you sure you don't want to rezone all of this to R6.5 to make sure you have enough?
Mhm.
And he said, no, you talked to him and he
Yeah, I
said, we
talked
want
to
to
him.
leave the back half R8.
Yeah.
They're pretty decent sized, it's a decent sized parcel left over that I
Okay.
think they can still get to R8 in.
Well, my concern is if we approve this one, then the other one can still get a house on it.
Right.
Without having to change the dead end to a road. Because otherwise we'll face with them having to, if we face to go against all the citizens and having to go back, we will not grant them the wish of.
Yeah, so here's kind of the situation we will face when we get to that point, which we're not, obviously that's gonna come with not this tonight. But the road either needs to connect or there has to be 2 fire-approved turnarounds. So if the road doesn't go through, they'll have to finish the cul-de-sac and they'll have to do a turnaround on the south side. And that's kind of what their options are right now.
Are they feasible option? Is it viable, or we're shooting them in the foot?
I think, I can't say for sure unless I lay it out, but that was my concern. That's why I had Rachel reach out to them to make sure they didn't want to rezone all of it to R6.
So what's the reason they're seeking to have this step? Why would they want to have, they're not certain if the road's going to go straight through, what do they gain by doing this?
Gain an extra lot.
Yeah, they just want to build another lot.
It's like a
Okay,
has
it's
two
not
lots
up
of-
there right now,
that's
okay.
Yeah, they only have 132 feet of frontage. So if you stay within R8, you're only gonna get one R8 lot because you need a minimum of 80 feet of frontage.
Okay.
So if they go R65, you can have 65 feet of frontage.
That's what this concept plan shows. Both of those lots would meet the R 6.5 frontage requirements.
Yeah.
And they would share an access, so the existing house would remain.
Well, ultimately, we have to make sure that they have the fire lanes.
If you look across the street and the lots to the north as well, the lots adjacent and across the street have a similar size frontage. So as far as meeting the fabric of the neighborhood,
Yeah, that's.
and that also, for the west purpose of the rezone tonight, that fits the, area that's across the street.
They look bigger than the ones across the street, actually.
Well, there was
There'll
a-
be 2 6.5 lots in that yellow area, not one lot.
So one of
So
them
it's-
is an 8,700 square foot lot and one is a 7,200 roughly, would be what, yeah, she's in there. So one thing to clarify too is by code, by city code, we have no choice. The road either has to connect, you have to have 2 fire turnarounds. There's not any latitude there. So that's kind of where we're at with him right now.
And he knows that.
It's, yeah, it's
Is
basically.
there-
But as long as he knows that, it's between him and his neighbors, so.
No, there's no deadline. It's up to him when he wants to proceed with. He could proceed and build on both of these lots and not do anything with the back piece right now.
But there was a lengthy list of supporters of his request,
Correct.
many of you I'm acquainted with. And
But all those supporters also wanted to keep it at the end of the cul-de-sac.
yes, I.
All of them wanted to, so
Okay.
Is that,
again, if we approve it, then it's between him and his neighbors, because if it end up not working, because we need the turnaround and the fire lanes, then
Yeah.
we have to do what we have to do.
He'll have to work through that, kind of side plan.
does he live on the building on the north side of that lot? Who's the resident there? Looks like there's a home there.
That is the Matthews home.
Okay, so that's someone in their family.
He actually lives,
He
if
lives
you
up
take 280 north to the
northeast.
bulb out to the right, he lives on that bulb out. You can see him, yeah.
He doesn't live in one year.
But he may own that house as well.
That's what.
Yeah, that big one on top of it, up to the right.
Yeah, this is where, yeah.
Just, I know we've talked with like deep line lots that they can share driveways, it's the same thing, even though they're 2 separate parcels, the shared driveway between the 2 lots is fine.
Oh, yes, what you're saying, just does show 50-foot driveway in existing zone.
Yeah, and it said somewhere in there that the driveway would be shared across the 2 lots.
Yeah, so when you're looking at some of our arterials, then that's where we encourage shared driveways because you have higher volumes of traffic, likely higher speeds, even though we all think we don't speed, but there are higher speeds. So in order to help it become safer, less friction, we encourage driveways to be shared. And 8 East is very traveled.
Right, I just was curious about that.
Yeah.
Just for understanding, thanks.
But the setbacks would still be the same, so the 25, there would be a 25-foot setback from the main road.
And there's space to put a house there.
Yes. We did. They did show us.
How wide is that driveway?
It's 15 feet.
Pardon?
15 feet.
How about after it turns?
I do not know. You mean this part?
Yes.
I don't
So
have that.
the front of the garage is 21 feet. So by the time you reach the garage, you're at 21 feet.
But the piece that curves down,
It's wider than 21. They don't have a dimension on it.
I would estimate it to be about 27 feet.
Yeah, so from, that's 21 to here, so
You see that with 6 feet, 6 feet from that black line up there. That's 6
So
feet.
this is, and this is the orange part, that's getting rezoned, so.
Yeah, but my question is, how wide is it, tell where they have to get across past the garage?
There's no way.
So you're asking, what is this dimension?
That little, yeah.
Existing garage.
Could you estimate that?
I think what, maybe to clarify, they'll have to design the house on that south lot so that the garage can be accessed from that easement. So the garage would likely not be back as far as this one. Although it could be side by side with it, they would just have a right to drive over that easement to get to their garage. Does that help?
There would also be the normal setbacks for that home.
Correct, that's a good point.
And based off of what Sam has talked about, the shared driveway, maybe we can encourage them to do a specific.
Do they already have a concept plan or a site plan for the bottom lot there?
We don't see those until they apply for a building permit, and that's when we review them at that point. And make sure they fit all the setbacks.
Yeah, this is just a concept,
But
right?
they-
I think our minimum driveway width is 24 feet that we can do, so I mean, likely that could be a little bit wider. The easement could be that they have in there might be offset a little bit, so I mean, understanding this is just a concept, this is generally what they're trying to do. They may realize they gotta take off that back garage because it's not gonna make it work for a house. They have to change it, everything, but just conceptually, this is what they're proposing.
Yeah, so just to clarify, thank you, Sam. This is not nailed down tonight. This is just to show a concept to get the rezone, and then they come back for subdivision plan.
So it makes sense, you're right, it's something that.
Well, it fits the code. I
It
don't
fits
know
the
if
code, I don't know that.
So wait a minute.
You're not moving any
Photograph not make sense, is that what you're
Well, some days.
It depends on who you're talking to, but I mean, those kind of lots,
We're talking to you.
it's harder to build a house on, right? It's gotta be a different shaped home or it depends on the builder and what they can, they can do.
I'm an engineer. The lines are a little bit easier when they're like this. You start putting angles in there, it
I
kind
can
of.
understand that.
Really,
You should be an accountant that changes things.
There you go.
because really, all they're showing that it is possible. That you
Yes,
could, if
correct.
we did it as a 6.5, could theoretically put a house.
For the purpose of the rezone, that's what
And
they're
that's,
showing.
yeah.
Keeping in mind that lot is 120 feet deep, and that's a nice depth too. So you've got a good 80 feet in front to work with before you get into the narrow portion.
Okay, so here's the street view, that shows the existing home, and then behind it, you can see where the second lot would go. And staff does recommend forwarding a positive recommendation to the city council. Any other questions with this one?
Thank you so much.
Item 3.4 is moving a structure or amending portions of section 2214.8AI and 2. And this is just kind of a code cleanup. So as we were looking through the code, we noticed there was a fee, but there shouldn't be any fees in the code. So each year the fees get adopted by the budget by the city council each July. So it's just kind of cleaning up the code. Any questions? Staff recommends a positive recommendation to the city council. Then item 3.5, Washburn Park Plaque B. This is located at 860 West, 1250 South. It's in the HS zone. So here's the existing plat. On the existing plat, it shows a sewer line easement in favor of Orem City. By the request of Sam and the city staff, we asked the developer to change it to be in favor of lots 1 and 2. So that we're not responsible for maintaining that sewer line, especially since it's at an angle. Any questions about this one? How did that happen?
Yeah, so
Well, so what happened is we approved it and they came through. Typically when we do a sewer main, anytime we have an angle point, we want to have a manhole. Well, for whatever reason, I think they thought, they being the contractor on site, well, this is a private line, let's just put in some 45-degree bends. and we'll bend it around and work. It does work, but if it's ours, we like to get in there with the camera and video inspect it, make sure it's doing well. Well, a camera can't go through those 45-degree bends. So that's when I said, look, if you guys want to keep it that way, then you make the whole thing private, or if you want the city to maintain it, operate it, and own it, you got to take that out and put a manhole there. They're like, well, I'll go ahead and assume that responsibility. I said, that's fine. Then let's just put this easement in favor of lots 1, 2, and 3. I'm not worrying about it. It's all better. It's cleaner that way. So that's what we did.
So they've already built there.
It was, yes.
The
that's
building's there, it's almost ready to be
Well,
done.
that's the thing is John, one of my inspectors came and said, hey, do we allow 45-degree? He goes, yeah, we put the sewer main in, we got a couple 45s in there. Like, we don't do that on an 8-inch. Well, I know, but it's private. I said, no, but that's our line. And then we said, hey, you got to remove it as per the plans. And they're like, well, I'd rather not go through the thousands of dollars of trying to fix it. We'll just assume responsibility. And I said, that's even better for me. So.
Good job.
Yeah.
All right.
Here's what that looks like. It's a little different now because there is a building almost done. And staff recommends you approve the plat. Any other questions?
We're good.
Then that concludes the pre-meeting.
Rachel.
Made it.
5 minutes.
We can have a distract- we can have a dance
I can see why your face is not
You hear it, Jared?
All right.
So for those of you who signed up for the conference in Lehigh, this is just for you if you want to take it to make sure. So you have Madeline. Do you want to take it with you to that? You put your names in normal, but for some reason it has come up, so.
Apparently,
That's your name, you're all over.
well, yeah.
And we have no idea what your name tag will look like, it'll be interesting when you get
Well, I'm not sure they're really good at planning, Rachel.
there.
I'm not sure these guys are really good at planning. I don't know if we should teach us how to plan now. You can't get the names right. Because you're judging, but, and that's the problem with every city. They think they're good at one thing and not the other. We will plan it, but
This is
let's get do this.
This is the HPA, not the city.
I know.
We'll give you my upgrade.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to see.
We're using
When did you show up?
Testing.
That's it. Thank you. Great. You let us know when technology is ready, Rachel, and we'll. Right. She's not. She was going to. You're up.
We are ready to start.
Okay. Well, thanks for everybody's patience with us and getting the technology up and running. And we do have a quorum, and Mary volunteered to say the prayer.
Yeah. Our kind and loving Father, we are so grateful for the blessings we enjoy, particularly to live and reside and be here in the wonderful city of Orem. We're grateful for those who have prepared and are proposing to make our city better, and we pray thy Spirit to be with us, to guide us in our thoughts and our questions and our conversation. Pray that we will be civil and understanding, and ask thee for thy blessings to be upon us. And we also pray for our city leaders and our country leaders and the leaders of the world, that there may be peace and growth. And we pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, man. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is McDonald's site plan. It's a request to approve McDonald's located at 650 East, 800 South in the PD 34 zone. Here's a map showing that location. It's next to Costco and Big O Tires and the Quick Quack Car Wash. It's in the PD 34 zone. Here's the existing plat. Here's the proposed site plan. As part of the proposed site plan, they will be widening that private road and redoing the median. Here's the proposed drive-through detail. They will be coming in right, and then it wraps around the north side of the building. Here's the proposed floor plan. Here's the proposed landscaping plan. It meets all the requirements of the PD 34 zone. Same with the lighting plan. And here's the proposed parking plan. There are 12 parking spaces on site and 5 off site as part of the shared parking agreement. Here's a bigger map showing the entire shared parking plan. In between the red lines is all of Costco's required parking, and that's their property lines. And then McDonald, that shows the 5 spaces that McDonald will be using. Here's a street view. It's currently vacant. And staff recommends approval. Do you have any questions for me?
Just earlier, we had questioned the parking, and I believe we got a good resolution to
Yeah.
that.
So we addressed most of the questions in the pre-meeting, but if you have any.
Well, I just have a question for the developer in terms of how do they determine whether 12, how many parking spots are needed? And I think this is going to be a drive-through location but I just curious where they come up with the number of 12 or 17, more curiosity than anything.
That's based off of the city code in the PD 34 zone, and it's based off of the building square footage.
And then my question is, would McDonald's have any guidance that would be different than that?
They may, I don't know if McDonald's has additional.
The applicant's here if you'd like to
Yeah.
address. the
Does
applicant.
the applicant want to add any comments or? Yeah, come into the front, please, and state your name and then you can answer any questions.
So I'm Darren Perks with Dominion Engineering. McDonald's, to answer that question directly, I don't know. This might not be working. I'll try and talk. Oh, there we go. I just need to be closer. To answer that question directly, McDonald's doesn't do a parking site study for every specific store. They base their needs on the anticipated store sales. This is a small volume site, and they do anticipate sufficient parking with this site.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, no other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll make the motion. Make a motion to approve the planning commission approve the site plan of McDonald's located at 650 East, 800 South in the PD 34 zone.
I second that motion.
Right. Yeah.
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
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 Okay, the second item on tonight's agenda is Milagros Edition. It's a request to amend Northgate Plaza Retail Condominiums, Unit 1, Phase 1, located at 966 West, 800 North in the PD 22 zone. Here's the location. It's by Winco and 800 North. Here's the existing plat. And here's the proposed plat. So the addition Milagros wants to do will go into the common area. So they have to amend the plat to expand the limited or the private area. And all of the property owners on this plat will have to sign the plat, and they have agreed to this.
Okay.
Here's the proposed site plan. Here's the proposed floor plan. So they will be expanding the kitchen and adding a drive-through. Here's the proposed elevations. It will match the existing building. And there will be some attic space for storage. The landscaping is not changing at all. Here's a street view. And staff recommends that you approve this plat. Any questions?
This is a public hearing. Is the applicant here? Would you please come to the front?
Julie Smith.
Thanks, Julie. With the questions we had, I mean, she mentioned that all the property owners around you
Yeah,
approved
there's
that.
only two owners. There's Dave Tremosa and Bill Fairbanks or Carter Construction.
Okay,
All the other space is just rented.
okay, great. And how long do you anticipate the build out to take?
Hopefully not long. He wants to be open December 1st. So.
Any of the planning members have questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, this is
Yeah.
a public hearing, so we do have to open.
Again, it's great to see businesses expanding. We like that. So I would say I move that we approve or amend, excuse me, approve the
It's a public
amendment.
hearing,
Oh, it's a public hearing, sorry.
so we do need to open it to the public, or if there's any other recommendation. Ryan?
Yeah, we just need to open the public hearing and then close it if no one comes forward.
Okay. So if there are other questions, we open this to the public for any questions. If any have nobody coming up, so we'll close this portion, the public hearing, and then we can go ahead with the
Can I
motion.
try this again?
Yeah.
I guess I recommend we approve the amendment to the Northgate Plaza Retail Condominiums Unit 1, Phase 1 by approving Northgate Plaza Retail Condominiums Phase 1 amended, located generally at 966 West, 800 North in the PD 22 zone.
I second it.
Aye.
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 Select.
Okay, the third item on the agenda is Matthews rezone. It's a request to amend the zoning map at the property located at 258 North, 800 East from R8 to R6.5. And this is just talking about the west side of the property. Here's a better aerial. This is the existing zoning map. It's currently R8. Here's the proposed zoning map, just showing that west side will be zoned to R6.5. Here's a concept plan. So they want to rezone this from R8 to R6.5 so they can fit 2 lots so that it meets the frontage requirements of 65 feet in the R6.5 zone. And the concept plan also shows that both the lots will share a driveway.
Okay.
Here's a street view. Did you have a question?
Okay.
The existing house will remain, and you can see kind of a vacant area behind that house. And staff recommends a positive recommendation to the city council.
Is the applicant here? Could you please come to the front?
I'm McKay Matthews. If you have any questions.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions because we looked at the packet and there was a couple of pages with signature of the neighbors that would like to maintain. I mean, even though this is not the item at question, but they would like to maintain the backside of the lot as a cul-de-sac and a dead end.
Correct.
What are your plans with that lot in the future?
The lots on the west side or on the east side? In the back or in the front?
On the back.
In the back. What we'd like to do is just complete that as a cul-de-sac and have 2 lots that would remain R8 in the back on the east side.
Okay, and Ryan was talking to us about the fire department requirements in the city code. Would you expand on that for him, please?
Yeah, I think it's better for Sam Kelly, our city engineer, to be, he's the one that's been working on this with the code.
Yeah, so in the back of that, on the property there that isn't part of this rezone, as per our code for our streets, he has essentially 2 options. He has to at least finish that top cul-de-sac to the north. And then on the south where there's that dead end street, he has the option either A, to put in a 96-foot diameter cul-de-sac or continue that street through. And that's as per the fire code. Looking at that with the street, the section of the code that talks about streets and connectivity, the only way that could be waived is if it would not create a negative impact to public safety. In my conversations with the fire chief and deputy fire chief, they found that it would. So in order for that rear portion of that property to be subdivided, they would have to either AES put in 2 cul-de-sacs or connect the road through and finish off the other cul-de-sac.
Thank you so much. So I just want to bring that to your attention that, yeah, go ahead.
So what you're saying is you would have literally, you're either going to put a street that goes through, but you would probably use most of that land in some kind of a turnaround, one way or the other, where that road is, that most of that land's not going to be usable to build on, I would think. Is that right?
Depending on how they were to configure it, obviously there's probably more land with one option than the other. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Do you any idea which option would provide more land? Would it be the two cul-de-sacs or the road going through?
I don't. I mean, if I had to guess, I would
With the
think
road.
that if you put in 2 cul-de-sacs, it would probably encumber more property than continuing the road through. But I mean, without seeing the layout and looking at the numbers, it would just be speculation.
We just want to clarify that looking at your proposed zoning, we're not against it, but you do need to know that the precaution is you'll have a road that goes through or 2 cul-de-sacs, otherwise it would not meet the requirement. That's what's going to happen with the backside.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and we've had that discussion, and and I don't know if that's a discussion for here tonight, where we're talking about the zoning, but yeah, that's something that would like to continue to discuss as we look at that, whether to do a cul-de-sac or what the situation would be on that east side.
Yeah, and to be clear, we're in favor of the zoning.
Right.
That's not an issue.
Right.
But haven't received a letter from the citizen asking for that to be a dead end to preserve the neighborhood feel. We just want to let you know on record that it's not going to happen in the backside of the lot.
Okay.
And as long as you're aware of that, we can move ahead with the motion.
It is a public hearing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we have one more. Okay, well, let's open it to the public, or do you want to have a question? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, come in.
Here's our engineer, Roger.
The question, I guess, for us this evening, yeah, we're looking at the options of the cul-de-sac or some other way of dead ending the street. I think for this evening, the thing that's before the planning commission is the zone change. We'll be coming back to the planning commission in the coming weeks with a subdivision proposal for the rear part. Mr. Matthews has met with all of his neighbors in that street. They've all met together. There's been a lot of discussion with the staff on exactly what to do with that. He bought this property from the Callies. It's all been one piece of property. And of course, some of his children are now living in the home, and he wants to build another home to the south of it, which is what the zone change is going to do tonight, is allow for 2 lots. When we were looking at this originally, we thought we're putting in a shared driveway for the existing home and for the new home that'll be built on the lot 2. Part of the reason of that is that 8th East is a collector road. We thought that one driveway out onto 8th East would be much preferable to having 2. And so that was part of our discussion. But I think we'd like to postpone the discussion as to the ultimate disposal of the cul-de-sac and the dead end street. Not postpone it, but at least indicate to the commission that we'll be coming back in the coming weeks with a proposal.
Sure.
Either one way or the other.
Well, and the only reason we brought it up is because of what was included in the packet with your neighbors. That's otherwise we would not have, if that did not come to our attention, we would have not mentioned it, and we would have stuck to the subject matter of changing just that one property.
And I think your name was in the same packet. You were agreeing with your neighbors. I think the
yes.
Matthews.
Yes.
If I read your writing, if I could see it said McKay Matthews.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, right.
Can I ask another question? I'm looking now. I noticed the back end of the lot is not in line with the lots above and below it. Is that because you want to save it for the east end of the lot when you end up doing that? Is it just curious as to, again, this is a curiosity more than anything.
Yeah, if you could see our plan, if with the continuation of the bubble, those lots that are going to face east will be very shallow. And so the idea was to give them as much depth as we can. Because of the way that the bubble comes in, the distance, we have a 25-foot front yard and 25-foot rear yard, which will only leave probably 30 feet, maybe 35 for the depth of the home. So because of the bubble, we've placed that lot line as far to the west as we can, so to allow as much for the new lots on the east. That's true, yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. Well, this is a public hearing. We'll open it now for the public for any comments or questions. Sure. State your name and address.
Please state
No
your-
address.
What's that?
No address, just a name.
Okay, Roger Toon. I'm one of the neighbors. As was mentioned, all of the neighbors are in favor of not having a through street. And it may be for the next meeting, but I just wanted to share my concerns about the school that's there. I was a volunteer at Cascade School last year, close with the teachers and the kids there. As you're aware, and I'm sure public safety is aware, they have added an additional pickup area on the north side and also on the west side of the school. My fear, and the same with some of the other neighbors, is that if you put a through street through there or an additional cul-de-sac, that street immediately across from the school will become a new pickup area for the kids. And if you're there when school's out or as school is just starting, it is total chaos. And, you know, public safety is absolutely a concern, but school safety is as well. I'm not sure how many emergency visits have been on either of those streets that could be affected, but I'll bet you could count it on one hand over the last 25 years. Whereas with that school and that potential pickup area, it's going to be a challenge. Those little kids, the lower grades, they just run. You got traffic backed up all the way down 800 East, almost to Center Street as they're picking up. You got traffic on 200 North waiting to get in. So that's my concern, is just public safety. We need to talk about school safety as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I appreciate it. Now, my wife was a teacher at that school for 3 years, so I'm very familiar with the pickup and the drop off. But again, we as Sam clarified, this has to comply to the city's code when it comes to fire safety. And as it sits, the only options are putting two cul-de-sacs or the road through. So, but that's another discussion for now. Any other?
Well, again, this was a good point. What I didn't realize, I'm now looking on my phone, is that 850 East Street literally goes right into the pickup. I didn't realize how close this was to Cascade Elementary.
Yeah.
So that's what you're concerned about, because it's almost like an access point to where the school pickup, the school ingress is. So.
Yeah, Sam?
Oh, they have a new school. Oh,
Yeah.
they have a new. So they've changed it. Okay, you're right. I do. It's still
Just
there.
to clarify, he has the outdated aerial photo, the new one. The access point is still there. It's just not directly across. It's a
Okay.
little bit to the west. And maybe well, anyways, I don't know if you have an aerial photo in there that shows it, just so everyone. That map is outdated. It shows the older school configuration, but. Oh, yeah.
That's the one my map shows too.
Okay, well, I guess, any other public comments before we close this? Oh, we have
I guess I have a question for the city. If and when they come for the east side of those lots for rezoning, that's when we can fully consider this question in terms of whether we provide a recommendation. Is that correct?
Concerning the east side, I don't know if there's really much consideration that can be given. As we sat down and spoke about this with Steve Earle, Aaron's supervisor. It's in the ordinance. I mean, it is what it is. And the road, they really only have those two options. It's a cul-de-sac or that road punches through. There's really not much else that we can do. And understanding that there are some concerns with Cascade Elementary, and in our last meeting that I had with Alpine School District, because we're going to run into the same issue with our water tank down at 4th and 4th, where where Orem Elementary is, and they have a pickup and drop off right in front of their school. And in my conversations with them, we have the same issue also at Bonneville Elementary, where it's not so much the drop off first thing in the morning that's the issue. It's the pickup times, and it's the parents getting there 20 or 30 minutes early and queuing up and kind of creating a mess. So they are aware of it, and we're going to be working towards some sort of a solution.
Okay. Thanks for your patience. Go ahead.
I know this meeting's kind of shifted to the street, but I did want to address the zoning. I know that.
Can we get your name, please?
Oh, it's Garrett Bodley. I live on 850. So, so I just wanted to say, with regards to rezoning, I know that sheet that was included in the packet with all the signatures of the neighbors. I know for a fact that all of them were in favor of the road not going through. I don't know if all of them, I can't speak for everyone, but me personally, like I signed it as opposed to the road going through. However, my wife and I were not in favor of the rezoning. I know that's been kind of a process in the past of Orem City rezoning neighborhoods, but my wife and I personally are very opposed to rezoning established neighborhoods. So just wanted to let you know, because I know you guys make a recommendation, and you've already mentioned that you are going to make a positive recommendation to the city council, but I don't know if you have to include this or not, but not everyone is in favor of the rezoning. So.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, we'll close this for the public hearing, but before we make the motion, I'm sure we have more questions.
Or comments,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, comments.
I wondered that myself, whether everybody was going to be in favor of this or not. And for me, the question is, does the R 6.5 zone fundamentally change the nature and character of the neighborhood? I would prefer, rather than to say a blanket, I don't want any rezoning at all, I would prefer to keep neighborhoods as they are, and 8 to 6.5 from my perspective doesn't seem like it's a dramatic radical change or fundamentally changes the nature of the neighborhood. Now, some of you might say that's different, but it is a good question. I think as a planning commission, we can't be so rigid as to say we can't have any zone changes. That's my opinion.
I concur with your thoughts, Murray. We're talking in one location, one piece of property. I think when it's a larger rezoning change, it does have a more dramatic impact, which has happened in the area of Orem where I reside. So I can relate to that. But I think in this matter, it, as you suggest, would be inconsequential.
Any other comments before we move forward? Ryan?
Did you close the public hearing?
I closed the public.
Thank you. I missed that.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, I can say something.
No, it's a tough one, just because it's we know the implication of what's going to happen next, and we want to be clear on it. But this is definitely for the 6.5 zone, 6.5 rezone, and it does match to the west side of the road, and I mean it's within city code and guidelines. It's no.
And there's piecemeal property around it. There's a zone 5 above it. There's clearly not all R8 around it. And I mean, to his point, yes, we've had a series of these come before us this summer as ways of relooking at some of these these lots that were bigger, but now people want to parse off and find ways of bringing their children or bringing other people in. And it's a very specific, it's not like we're trying to blanket the whole neighborhood and change it all to 6.5. It's just specific to make this lot work so another home can go on it. And irrespective of what's happening behind it, that's still possible for this part of this portion of the lot. And it's really, I mean, in terms of square footage, it's only slightly smaller than an R8 would be. Yeah. So in this case.
Okay. So would like to make a motion.
I move that the Planning Commission approve the amending section 25-5-3A and the zoning map of the city of Orem by rezoning the property located approximately 258 north, 800 east from the R8 zone to the R6.5 zone.
Hi, would you mind just clarifying whether are you forwarding a positive
Positive
recommendation?
recommendation, not approving.
I'm recommending, I'm a positive
Thank you.
recommending that.
Seconded.
All right.
Aye.
Carol.
Aye.
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 Aye again.
Thank you.
Okay, item 3.4 is a request from Development Services to amend portions of section 22-14-8A 1 and 2 pertaining to inspection fees and personnel who approve site and building plans. So this is just kind of a code cleanup. We noticed that something in the code wasn't consistent with the budget. And so we're just gonna change language so that that fee will get updated with the budget each year. And staff recommends you forward a positive recommendation to the city council. Any questions?
We don't have any questions. It's not.
Okay.
Yep. It says it is a public hearing, so we have to open it to the public. And if anybody has a question, can come to the front. No questions. So we'll close this public hearing portion and we move to the recommendation.
I move we make a positive recommendation, the planning commission forward a positive recommendation to the city council to amend portions of section 22-14-8A1 and 22-14-8A2, moving a house, building, or other structure pertaining to inspection fees and personnel who approve site and building plans.
I second that motion.
Thank you.
Aye.
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 Okay, the last item on tonight's agenda is Washburn Park Plat B. It's a request to vacate Washburn Park Plat B and approve Washburn Park Plat B amended, located at 860 West, 1250 South. This is located in the HS zone. Here's the existing plat. On the existing plat, there is currently an easement in favor of Orem City for a sewer line. The proposed plat would be to change that from in favor of Orem City to in favor of lots 1, 2, and 3. Here's the street view. And staff recommends that you approve this plat. Any questions for me?
No, I think we covered
Yeah,
the area. I think
just to
Sam,
clarify, the building has already been built, right? That's on this.
It is almost complete. It's
Okay.
under construction.
Yeah.
any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll move to the public hearing portion. It's open now to the public. Nobody's coming up, so we'll close that portion of the public hearing and we'll move on to the recommendation.
I move the planning commission vacate Washburn Park Plat B and approve Washburn Park Plat B amended, located generally at 860 West, 1250 South in the HS zone.
A second. All right.
Aye.
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 Right. Now just minutes. Or Ryan, do you have anything for us?
No, it's just exciting to have an agenda with a lot of items on it. So thank you for being here
It's
tonight.
getting better.
Supposed to what?
Okay. And okay, we'll have has each member reviewed the minutes? Okay. Make a motion to approve the minutes from July 20th, 2022.
Second it.
Yeah.
Aye.
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 Motion to adjourn.
So
Yes,
moved.
yeah. We can definitely open community comment. I mean, it's Well, yeah, sure.
Go
we-
ahead.
We did it in a new item.
This is community comments, so it's not related to any of the things.
Okay, our community, Ryan and Sam, as far as community comment. Yeah, Council Peterson, come on. Go ahead. Give you the community comment 3 minutes and that's city council.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's not on the agenda. We don't have a public
Well,
comment
is it-
period in
is it
planning
pertaining
commission.
anything we approved?
We don't know. That's for city council.
Okay. May I address the board?
Well, do I still have the?
Yeah, I
ability
think
to
so.
open it up?
Yeah, just to clarify, I think so. I don't.
Well, I want to clarify, is it regarding items in this agenda or the previous agenda?
That's a previous agenda item I wanted to,
So something that's on the minute, something, okay,
so I wasn't able to comment previously, but it was something.
go ahead, come in. Yep, it's open. We open the public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Council Peterson.
So, sorry, I'm used to the public comment because I sat through about 3 hours of them the other night. Anyway, a couple of comments about the Economic Development Strategic Plan, which the Plan Commission, endorsed, and it's been sent to the City Council, and they'll discuss it at the end of the month. So I just want to point out a couple of things on some of the pages and get clarification if this is something the Planning Commission. I want to understand if this is something the Planning Commission endorses. I know that there was a long discussion about some of these items. So, but my fellow members of the City Council will just see this was sent to them without knowing any background. So page 29, city leadership should look for ways to facilitate more mixed use development in targeted and strategic locations. And it talks about, and I know the group went through this a lot, discussing this.
Is that a recommendation or just in the text of we focused, what we didn't do is we didn't go through and go line by line in the plan. We focused on the recommendations. So I was aware there were statements in there that I wasn't comfortable with, but and I think all of us.
I think we should let him finish the 3 minutes.
Sorry, go
because
ahead.
we're taking out his time.
So yeah, stop my clock. So I guess that's the question when the City Council gets this. Does this mean that this was an endorsement from the Planning Commission or not? Because they'll just see this assuming that was an endorsement from the Planning Commission. So I'm just pointing out some of the things that.
Just to clarify, Councilman Peterson, you will receive the minutes of the Planning Commission pertaining to this item, and their recommended changes will be in your council packet.
So, okay.
So all the council will see that discussion and what the Planning
They don't
Commission
see
recommended.
the 3 meetings before where it just went back and forth. And
No, they'll see the final.
they'll just see the final, what
correct.
I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And they
there will
have
be
the-
the redlined corrections that they requested.
Okay. I'll just hit a couple more of the items I saw that I just wanted to see if this is what the Planning Commission intends to send to the City Council. But talks about the city center is not walkable. It's difficult for residents to walk around Orem. Of course, most of us know if we're going to go to the grocery store across the street, we all get in our cars and drive. So it's not really it's not walkable. But then the recommendation from the Planning Commission says, consider the expansion of the city's public transportation options. Says, work with, on page 32, work with Utah Transit Authority, Utah Department of Transportation, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what the City Council will see, that the Planning Commission is recommending. We need more public transportation. We need, and then they also. Anyway, they talked about the need for more, which I know the group worked on a lot, that of high density, medium density. And so that's again what the City Council will hear, that the Planning Commission is saying that you need more high density, medium density in the city. And then just my last comment, which I find kind of funny. So at page 45, well, second to last comment. Page 45 talks about substantial population growth in the last two decades in Orem. Well, in 2000, we were at 84,464. In 2010, we're at 88,328. That means we grew at about 0.5% per year, less than 1% per year. That doesn't sound like substantial growth. But then from 2010 to 2020, we grew at about 1% a year. Anyway, and then the last comment was showing, I thought this was really interesting on the report on page 49, showing the age of the homes in Orem. And 21% were built between 70 and 79. So 21% of the homes in Orem are 50 years or older. 15% are 40 years and older, and 21% are 30 years and older. So what I'm seeing in Orem is just a huge rebuild now in my neighborhood. I'm in an older neighborhood where people are buying the homes, either restoring them or building them out. But anyway, I just wanted to clarify. I know we'll get some of the notes, but just to make sure, I guess I just want to go on record and say, is that what is the planning commission saying? We need more middle density and high density. Is the planning commission saying we need more buses? If we do, we need to have them take the covers off the buses so we can see the empty buses going up and down 8th East and University Parkway. Anyway, I didn't think that was the message, but that's what I think the city council is going to see into it. So
Okay.
That's great feedback.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. So we spent 3 weeks discussing this plan extensively, and we had the city answering most of our questions until we came up with the language that we wanted to put in there. And you'll get the language in the meeting minutes, but to clarify what we talked about.
That's what I was going to ask, Brian. You talked about red line, that they will get on red line. Will it be separate from the packet, or will it be included within separate from the actual study?
Correct.
As
Your
a separate-
recommendations will be included in the packet along with the planning commission minutes.
Okay.
The
So-
actual plan is not redlined until the council directs us to do so.
Oh, okay. Well, so
Yes.
to be clear, in some of the comments, I went and I pulled the minutes. I did say specifically is I don't see a reason for the EDSP to intermingle with how the city density should look like. That to clarify that this is in the minute. This is an economic development plan has nothing to do with zoning. We also mentioned that the plan is a guideline and not a rule. So when you guys look at it, this is not something that we fully approved, and you'll see the change. We moved the positive recommendation. And if you think that the EDSP plan is coming to intervene with the city's vision in high density, medium density, you should put a stop to it. This has you should put a stop to it in the council. We went through the language. We did take out quite a few parts that mentioned high density, went down to, and we wanted to clarify that we're approving the economic development plan. This should not interfere with the zoning and planning recommendation mentioned in the city's plan. And it's not an attempt to modify or change the current city codes or zoning requirement. We did not talk about the buses, if I remember correctly.
No, we didn't.
We did not talk about that. That's something we may have missed in the 3 weeks. We've been looking at how many pages?
Yeah, actually, Terry, I think there's some things we missed. So council should say the plan commission missed this, and I would hope that you would take anything. I mean, the document is much more official when you guys look at it than after we look at it. So anything you think needs to be taken out, take out, and it's not going to hurt our feelings at all. I think we're aligned. We just probably didn't know to what extent we were changing and modifying things. And again, focus probably more on certain areas and less on others.
And Mary also wanted to add in there that in targeted and strategic location, when they were talking about the density, he said, and in mutually agreeable consultation with Orem residents and property owners. So the property owners around whatever you need to change have to agree that it keeps the fabric of the community in the same way it is, or based on our plan, based on what our city code dictates. So
I was just gonna say that you guys have the power. We don't. All we can do is make a recommendation one way or another. And I understand that you see our recommendation and you can take it so far, but like we are limited. It's not like we could stop this from getting to you because we completely disagree with this. We have to say basically one way or the other. And we would hope that y'all will vet it again and say, hey, is this really what we want for Orem? I think this is consistent with all the planning that we need to do going forward and looking at and saying, what do we really want here?
And given, yeah.
And that starts with y'all as well as our responsibility as planners. We need to get to our planning place, not just city approval of everything, but we need to start talking and having discussions and planning. And I think this is just another example of where there seems to be certain ideologies that are in different places, and we're not really coming together to form a real cohesive vision for Orem. And I think this is an opportunity as the city council to address that amongst yourselves and decide about this.
The city council values the opinions of the.
Terry, you have to be at the microphone or the system won't pick you up.
So the city council really values the opinion of the planning commission. And so my purpose of doing this today was just to make sure that what they take from this report is make sure that you're in line with what that report is. It's being sent to the city council. So they don't say, well, the planning commission is all okay with the increasing busing and more medium density housing, because that's the report that they looked at and sent to us. So that's my concern, Madeline, is they do put a lot of weight in what the planning commission's opinion is.
I'd like to clarify where I personally stand on it. No more high density housing, and we don't need any more public transportation. I see empty buses running all over town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it was apparent.
my initial feeling as I was reading this whole thing, it's premature. We don't know where the city wants to go. I think it's totally it's not relevant at this time. That's my feeling.
Let me suggest that that report does not encompass all of our sentiments, and it was drafted sometime before some of us have been on the board. But from your editorial comments, I could say that my feeling is consistent with yours regarding some of these matters, speaking just broadly.
Yeah.
No, I do want to bring up that the city was extremely cooperative with us and patient with the time we took to look at the plan. And I'm sure they'll do the same thing for you. You don't have to approve it in one day. You can table it for 2-3 weeks like we did to look at such a big packet, given that we all have full-time jobs in addition to volunteering to the position we have here. We can't just sit in for 3 days, fine tooth comb the whole thing. So we did the best we can in the 3 weeks, and we felt a little obligated that we shouldn't stretch it any longer because if we kind of don't want to abuse their patience, but in the same time, you have the same right to do just as we did. You can split it in 3-4 different sections and fine tooth comb it the way you guys want to go for it, but understand that we did the best we can in the time we have. And we did clarify that EDSP should have nothing to do with zoning and planning and density.
So thank you. I appreciate that you each had a forum now to say what you think. So when we look at this, I can say, well, I've heard different opinions. So it's not like a unified more buses. Yeah, anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, when I read that, I remember reading that thinking, oh, this is crazy. We need to get this out of there. But I think at a certain point in time, we all kind of prioritized based on time to say this is, you know, that wasn't a recommendation. That was a statement as opposed to one of the recommendations.
If I can offer you any comfort, nothing can be done in that plan without city council approval.
Mm.
So even once it's adopted, it's a guideline. It directs our economic development staff. Here's how you do business outreach. This is our plan. This is what we're going to do. But if you implement any zoning changes or you do anything beyond that, you have to have council approval. So even though it states those things in there, it doesn't mean in the end it's going to happen, if that makes sense. So it's a guideline for economic development and business outreach.
So you're saying we don't really have any merit then, right? I'm kidding you.
No, but I mean, the plan we adopted in 2014, we did a lot of work on. And we, for example, some of the things in there were adopted by the city council and done when they were carried out, right? And the council approved them. Same with this situation.
And this document that you're talking about was initially drafted in 2014.
That was the current plan we're operating under. This is an update, and because obviously economic conditions change, and then we do a new plan, and then we have guideline, and that plan's developed with business input, reaching out to the business community and stakeholders, and that's where a lot of the guidance comes from.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I do appreciate that you all appreciate us and
No.
what we're doing here.
No matter what your opinions are, it's valued because you're representatives of the community. And so it's important, and they do listen to the planning commission. So
Yeah. And I think for us, like for me personally, do I agree with everything that's in the rest that we didn't ask to have strike? Not necessarily. There's some principles that probably need to be looked at and addressed more. But as far as, I mean, there's time constraints, there's limits. We were holding it up. You guys have the power to really get in there and say what you want. One other question, is your concern partially how it's going to be conveyed to the city council so that they can clearly see what our objections are?
Yes.
Okay.
My concern was, Madeline, that they wouldn't know the objections. All they do is see this report
And
and they go, okay, the planning commission is good with this, 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 and this, because that's what's in the report. They don't get to see, it was either 3 or 4 meetings that you guys spent trying to fix that language to be comfortable. They don't understand, you could have said, throw the language out. I don't like any of it. But I think everyone's trying to be, work with whatever this report was. Anyway,
Yeah.
but they don't see that. All they see, here's the report. So they assume that means all of you are on board with that. So that was my intention, is just to say, is that true? And are there?
yeah. And I think for some of us too, the discussion about this is guideline and not, because we spent a lot of time talking about the city code specifically says that this is only a guideline and it doesn't force decisions in a certain way necessarily.
Yeah.
That helped calm some of what we were getting really concerned about.
And we love your independence. I mean, you could come out with an opposite opinion of the city council. That's great. No one tells you how to vote. No one's ever told any of you how to vote. So that's the great thing about this system. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And just so you know, when the packet goes to the city council, they also have a staff report. And your comments and the changes you wanted made are part of that staff report. Also, it's in the minutes. There's a link in the minutes where they can go straight to any meeting where they can listen to your whole conversation of any planning commission. If they're interested, there's many places they can go to find out what you really thought.
Great.
Just so you know.
Thanks,
And good luck having them
Cheryl.
do that. Anyway.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Okay, well, anything else, Ryan, before we make the motion to adjourn? Okay.
No, nothing.
Make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second it, or were you making the motion?
I made the motion. to
Second.
adjourn. Okay, all right.
Aye.
Sure.
Aye.
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 Thank you.